Marlins fans, welcome to the return of Big Fish Small Pod here on the Fish on First podcast channel, bringing you complete coverage of the Miami Marlins. I am Ely Sussman. We are presented by About the Fans. They are our merchandise partner. Go to aboutthefans.com to check out FOF merch, t-shirts, polos, hats, other unique t-shirts, stickers, etc. Support us there. Use promo code FOF10, FOF10 for a 10% discount. 15 minutes or less on the small pod. I'm going to be diving into whatever on my mind. The pod channel has been too quiet so far this season, and I haven't really been speaking long form on many topics. It's about time to change that. So what I'm going to be doing every weekday morning as best I can, just giving you my thoughts on individual topics around the Marlins organization at all levels. In this one, we go to the upper levels of the minors, as today is somewhat of a deadline, one of those invisible deadlines that the team does not talk about. As of April 11th, this is the 16th day of the Major League Baseball regular season, and it is now too late for any player called up to accrue a full year of Major League service time. It extends the team's club control over players who have not yet debuted here in 2025. This is most relevant to Agustín Ramírez, the Marlins catching DH prospect number 3 on our FOF top 30 list. I have an article about this on the Fish on First site right now, giving you more of my extended thoughts on what's going on here with Ramírez. If he gets called up at any point now moving forward, he is under club control through at least the 2031 season, which goes just past his 30th birthday. The Marlins have control over him now through his entire 20s, even if he gets called up and stays up permanently from now through the rest of that period. And that certainly would be a best case scenario, right? This is one of those deadlines that I think gets a little bit too much publicity. It really only applies to guys that have a chance of being good everyday players, good starters on a consistent basis. It is a good problem to have when you have a player that actually sticks in the big leagues throughout their arbitration years. Ramírez has that potential. So the subject is, when is he actually going to arrive in Miami? He was acquired, of course, in the Jazz Chisholm Jr. trade from the New York Yankees. I think that's a deal that has the potential to be a win-win for both teams moving forward. Jazz has been more good than bad with New York, and Ramírez has been more good than bad in this farm system. A guy that was pretty far off prospect radars at this time a year ago is now one of you could argue, the best position player prospect in this organization, according to certain lists, depending on what you value. He is a very well-rounded hitter. So far this AAA season, he is hitting .279 with a 123 WRC plus, 23% better than league average at AAA. Only one home run, but a ton of loud, hard contact, including another 111 mile per hour line drive double last night on Thursday. He looks really locked in, great quality of at-bats. And to me, I think he has the potential to be a middle of the order bat in the majors, a main DH on the major league team. And the positional fit here is what's really important and why he's not up at this particular moment. Fangraphs is especially high on Ramírez, as you can see right here. They're the ones that have him number 40 overall on their MLB top 100 prospects list. And seem as in really like his power, solid hit tool. They are higher on his defense behind the plate. And me, I've been pretty critical of it because, just to put it concisely, he struggles to catch the ball. And that is a big obstacle if you are a catcher. When you struggle to catch the ball, he just drops a lot of balls. It's as simple as that. As recently as his most recent game, which was a win for the Jumbo Shrimp, there were 3 wild pitches in there, 2 of them that I thought were extremely blockable and catchable by Ramírez, that simply popped out of his glove, simply went by him. And that has been a trend from basically every game that I've seen him, is the inability to close his glove on the ball at a way that you typically expect from a major leaguer. I mean, he does it at a level that is, I guess, not embarrassing, but to me, he'd be one of the weakest defensive catchers in all of Major League Baseball if he got called up. So much of his value is reliant on his bat, making good swing decisions and just crushing the ball and driving in runs. I think even in a scenario, he's a second string catcher in the big leagues, a guy that would still get the majority of his playing time at positions other than behind the plate because of the struggles to simply catch it, to block it. And this even bleeds into his controlling of the running game because of how frequently he fumbles the transfer from his glove to his hands. So he's thrown out 2 runners this season so far, including one in the most recent game, which is actually pretty impressive and encouraging. Like, the arm itself is solid, and that's why, at least in Fangraph's estimation, he has a chance of being a 45 fielder, pretty close to an average fielding catcher. I don't agree with that assessment, but I think part of that comes from the fact that if he could ever just be smoother with his transfer, that he would be doing a decent job relative to most catchers at throwing out runners, trying to steal.
Fish on First has partnered with About the Fans to launch a merchandise collection. Rep the FOF logo and more Marlins-inspired apparel. Find it all at aboutthefans.com. Enter coupon code FOF10 at checkout to get 10% off your order. FOF10 for a 10% discount.
So far in AAA this season, he's only playing catcher, and that has been somewhat surprising from me. When the Marlins acquired Ramirez from New York, he was getting a decent amount of reps at first base on days when he wasn't catching. Right now, at the AAA level, it's him, and he kind of has the job on his own because Joe Mack, another very highly regarded prospect in this organization, he's at AA. Rob Brantley is kind of a unofficial coach who's traveling with the Marlins major league team. Brian Navarreto, that leaves him as the second string catcher at AAA right now. And Bennett Hostetler is kind of an emergency third string guy. There's just not much competition, so they could give him as many reps as he wants. He has DH'd a couple of days, and aside from that, he's been catching in all of his appearances. So they're giving him all the reps he can take. Peter Bendix has been pretty straightforward, or he has insisted, you could believe him or not, but he's been insisting that they want to develop him as a catcher and give him every chance to do so. So the problem with that is the fit on the major league roster isn't really there if that's going to be the case. Right now, they have it's Nick Fortes and it's Liam Hicks as the catching duo. So far, those two have exceeded expectations in this early going. Hicks is a Rule 5 draft pick. That means he cannot be sent down to the minor leagues during this entire season unless they offer him back to his original team first. They're going to give him a long leash, it seems, to establish himself because the early returns have been good. Hicks doesn't have the power that Ramirez does. He's a slightly better defender behind the plate, all things considered. They're going to give him some time, and that means that Ramirez doesn't have a clear path to this roster right now because he's only been playing catcher. He does have some background at first base where, to my eye, he's below average at that position too, but he at least has some familiarity. I don't think a call-up is anything that you can really have top of mind until he starts playing some first base, because otherwise that path to the big leagues relies on a catcher getting injured. If Fortes or Hicks go down with a significant injury, as you can see, Ramirez is the only other catcher on the 40-man roster. And if they're going to miss any significant amount of time, Hicks or Fortes, then I think Ramirez would be up almost immediately, even with his struggles. If they want to continue to get him catcher reps, and his bat is pretty clearly ready as a guy that was significantly above average last year. He is again this year, and it comes from a very balanced approach. He's an injury away from a catcher from being called up, and Fortes himself had a little bit of an injury scare, a couple actually, one in spring training, and then one most recently about a week ago with a neck issue. So he's not the strongest of, he's not the most reliable of Iron Men. It is possible that an injury pops up for them to get a spot on. And it's not uncommon for Rule 5 guys, if they go into a deep struggle, Hicks, for example, at some point this year, it's not uncommon for those players to go on the phantom IL. If the team still values them long-term, but still can't send them down to the minors, as the season goes on, it wouldn't be totally surprising that Hicks spends some time out of view in order to give Ramirez an opportunity. So the other route is if he starts getting some first base reps at AAA to get reacclimated to the position. Right now, Matt Mervis, he's been streaky. He started the year really slow, and then as of late, he has now surged to the team lead in home runs, and he's right up there in OPS as well. But he's streaky, and he has minor league options left, as do both Jonah Bride and Eric Wagaman. Both those guys have played some first base, and both of them have gone off to slow starts. those guys are right-handed hitters, just like Ramirez is, and they those are the ones that are more expendable if either one of them goes on a significant slump. That is, if you're looking at something that maybe in the coming weeks, something that potentially in May, Ramirez could get called up. I think that relies on either Bride or Wagaman remaining really, really unproductive as hitters. So then you slide Ramirez in there as a guy that DHs a lot, that plays first base sometimes, and that is like the third string catcher, catches maybe once a week behind Fortes and Hicks. But it all starts with Ramirez actually getting some reps at first base. If he isn't doing that yet, then he's it's just an awkward fit with the current roster as much as they value him right now. But to reiterate what I said at the top of the show, this applies to everybody in the organization, all their prospects. This extra year of club control that now goes into effect. Guys called up right now have to play at least 7 big league seasons at this point, just because this 25 season won't be able to count as a full year of service with 171 days left on the regular season calendar, and it takes at least 172 to qualify as a full year of service time. That's why this day is significant. It's probably more significant to some other teams around Major League Baseball, where they have prospects that are more loudly knocking on the door and have a clear fit on their current roster. All things considered, this start to the season has gone better than expected for the Marlins, 6-6 as of this recording. Sandy is back from the paternity list. They now are getting Edward Cabrera back from injury. Jesus Sanchez is only a number of days away from returning from the IL as well. We'll have coverage on that. I might speak on that on the next small pod coming up next week. I'll try to do this as many weekday mornings as I can, 15 minutes or less from myself, Ely Sussman, talking about what's ever on my mind here on Big Fish Small Pod. Thanks for subscribing to the Fish on First podcast channel. You can watch all these on YouTube along with the rest of our coverage, our live streams before every single series, among other things. And this is brought to you by About the Fans, aboutthefans.com. Scroll down to the Fish on First collection to support us that way. Rep us in public. We really appreciate that a lot. Enjoy your weekend, everybody, and go fish.